So in the last part, we covered how to deal with your shame, and we covered one technique called MVC for your jealousy, and a second technique was law of attraction, and we covered, one way to have more trust. And so in this video, I'm going to continue with the second way to have more trust, and a third technique, and also the way to prevent jealousy in your life as the last step. And so if you didn't see the other video, I will link to it up here. Watch that before you watch this video. So the second way to have more trust is about the fact that not only we would not be able to handle all of our success today, as I mentioned in the last video, but also our life would not be meaningful. It is actually the journey to our destination that makes life meaningful. So this is why both me and a lot of other people walked for 3 days to see the Machu Picchu ruins, while actually there was also a 3-hour train ride that I think was even cheaper. Right? It's because when you make that journey, it makes the actual view even more impressive, even more joyful to see. This is also why we like to come fully dressed to a date and to have a few drinks and to talk and to fantasize a little bit about this person before we actually go and undress them and make love with them. It makes it way more fun. And sometimes you might say, I go to a date and I want to, kiss right away. But often there was also a journey before that. Maybe there were some messages or something that were heightening the anticipation. This is why we wrap gifts. We purposefully postpone the destination, the gift, with a fun journey, the package, because it makes seeing the destination in the end more fun. So the question is, when you get a gift of life, are you able to first, read the card and to see which people are wishing this for you, and to kind of shake the box and to be like, what? To just heighten the anticipation again before you really grab the thing. So to bring this into practice, it's helpful to just say some things to yourself and to repeat those things. And so I'm going to mention them to you now. I got these from Esther Hicks. And so the things are, I'm looking forward to the journey towards this thing. I'm becoming clearer and clearer about what it is that I really want. It feels so satisfying to feel and to see the pieces falling into place. I wouldn't want to miss one bit of seeing it unfold. And so what you want to do is to write down these sentences, and quite similarly to what you did with the needs, to really make sure that you see them. You could, put a reminder in your phone so they pop up a few times. You could have them, in a frame hanging in your toilet if you like. It could also help maybe to have some songs about journeys, about the joy of a journey. Maybe you can listen to them in the morning or before you go to sleep, anything like that. Now, the nice thing in law of attraction is that the journey isn't necessarily supposed to be hard. Right? It's not like you have a really hard journey and then you deserve the destination. That's sometimes why we get so frustrated, right? But I had all the hard shit. Now I have to get my present, It doesn't work like that. Even though, there is going to be maybe things that don't feel so good, just because how would you know what is joy, right? If you don't know the opposite. So there's going to be this contrast which will even, enable making you feel joyful. But it doesn't have to be all pain. And that in itself doesn't make, the destination any better. And so it's all about finding, the path of least resistance, as they call it, towards your destination. So law of attraction, just to summarize it all, says, enjoy your journey and you will have endless powers to create anything that you want. And the third technique I developed myself, just picking up from little things here and there. And it's focused on another kind of envy. I discovered there's actually 2 kinds of envy. So the envy we talked about so far was about you having a very strong wish. It could be around love, around money, something big usually. And then running into someone who has that. And then it's kind of like having solved in this wound that was already there. The wish was already there. Then there's this other phenomena where you don't really have an active wish for this specific thing that another person has, but when you see the other person having this thing, you compare yourself and you think you need that as well in order to be happy. So for example, I might not have any active wish around doing a TED Talk, And then I see a colleague doing a TED talk and I'm comparing myself and I'm thinking, oh, I should do that as well. Or I should get more in the media as well. I should be the same or even get higher. Or I see a friend who is working out every day, posting on Instagram, I'm doing this workout every day. And all of a sudden I feel like I have to do that as well. And if that is in a painful way, it's not in a like motivating way, which could happen as well, then that's also a kind of envy, right? And so this envy I call comparison-based envy, because it's kind of like you make this comparison, and then you have this envy, and then it goes often into something like competition, but I don't really like to use that word because competition can be very motivating, right? So we're just going to call it comparison-based envy. And so let's see what you can do with that. Now, in order to solve this, we need to know where it comes from. And what I believe is that, we grow up thinking that we are all the same. How else can we be put in the same classroom, getting the same topics as the other children, and we are measured and graded in the same way about how we perform on those topics, in the very same way other people. So we learn that we need to be good at things, at the same things. We need to be good at the same things in the same way that other people are good at them. And we get trained in this for, our whole, most schools do it like this, right? There's exceptions. We get trained in this for years and years, 10 to 15 years. And then ironically, we are asked, what kind of job do you want to pick, or what kind of education that really fits you as an individual? Now, by that time, everything that makes you, a unique individual has been criticized or ignored to such an extent that you probably don't really know anymore what it is, right? I'm really, really passionate about this. Actually, funny enough, with me, it didn't really go like that, but I see this around me happening a lot. So back to the comparison-based jealousy or envy. This is based on this idea that we can be compared, which we learn, right, this way. And I really believe we can't. We cannot, there's no sensible way to compare ourselves to other people at all. And so, and what's interesting as well, especially for those of you who have a business, and I'm going to focus a little bit on that as an example. You might be thinking that, either if you grew up this way, either like, I have to do it the same way as other people are doing. Or you might think as a result, well, everything has been said already by other people, and so I can't really do that anymore because it would be the same. It would be the same story again. So those two things are often a result, and I'm going to go into that. And to give you an example of the importance of actually reconnecting with this unique part of yourself is this. A few years ago, I was looking for a mentor because I wanted to start my own business. And what I did was I looked on YouTube and I found the most successful business owners in the world, and I watched their videos. Now, after watching for a while, I felt like something was off. And I realized that it was because they were all men. And, I wanted to see someone that I could relate to. And so I started to look up videos by women. And I was watching them for a while, and then I realized something was off. And then I realized that they were all blonde women. And that's when I really started to realize that I needed to find someone that was like me, so I could trust that I could do the same thing. And so this is where it becomes really, really interesting for, especially if you're a business owner, to really, really be exactly you, so that, different people your audience basically can relate to you. And so now what I notice now, being a business owner myself, is that the people that are attracted to my program, the people that come into my program, often I'm like, oh, they could have been my friends, And sometimes someone comes in and I'm like, why is this person here? And then I talk with them, and then I realize that like they tell me something that that they went through, and I went through the same thing, and I didn't even tell them, but there was somehow this match. Now you might think, my competitor already covered this topic, so I can't do that anymore. And this is really, really not true. Trust me, there is the audience for you out there that needs to hear it from you, because you are a brunette, or because you're a blonde, because you went through a burnout, because you're Dutch, or because you're from New Zealand, or you're from the States, you're Irish, maybe because you grew up with one parent, maybe you had an abortion, maybe you don't want to have children. There can be, you have a specific sense of humor. All of these things make you unique, obviously. And the people that are in any kind of way like you need to hear it from you. They really need to hear it. They're not going to hear it from me because they're not like me. And so very rarely do I see, a business from someone that is not really thriving. And I think, well, that's because the person really needs to learn a bit better to be better at their job, right? To get more education for the thing they're professional in. It's usually because they think there's no audience for them, and so they don't really go on stage, right? And so I might make a separate video about this because I find it very interesting, the topic of having a business and everything around that. But just for now, I just want to give you 2 practical tips if you can relate to this phenomena. Now, the first one is to go on a comparison diet. I call it a comparison diet. And so, when you have the other kind of envy where, you want the relationship, for example, and you have this wound already, I wouldn't necessarily say, go avoid seeing people with a relationship, because the wound is already there anyway. And, maybe you might want to have some other single friends, but other than that, you just want to take care of the wound, right? But in this case, I would recommend you to practice comparing yourself less, to have less of this stimulus of comparing. And so how you can do that is to just, for example, on Facebook or other social media, to just switch off the messages from the people that you get this trigger with. Maybe they're in the same field as yours, or they did the same study or anything like that. Just to switch that off for a while. Just give yourself a break in comparing, okay? While you're just, building up maybe your business, or you're feeling vulnerable about something, just starting out. You might just want to give yourself a break in that. You can even redirect. If you don't want to unsubscribe from emails, you can redirect them to your spam, anything like that. So this is actually what I did in the beginning as well. And what helped me was to really, I don't look at my colleagues when I'm in this mood of evaluating myself. I don't want to look at other people as a way to evaluate myself. I just want to compare myself to myself, right? And so I do want to look at colleagues when I'm in a good mood, and I want to learn from them. But that's really something different. If you're now in this jealousy, you're not in that state right now. And so you just want to give yourself the comparison diet for as long as you like. It could be forever. Maybe you just want to have that forever. Now, the second thing is to really brainstorm about, forget about your education and your profession in a very strict way, like all the things that are on your CV. Forget about those, but write down in a brainstorm everything else that makes you, everything about your background, everything about your little quirks, your little characteristics, the little things that maybe your partner likes about you. Just write down everything. And just to see in front of you this, I almost feel touched about it. There's just literally no one like you. Even if you're a twin, right? Even more important, I think, to realize there is just literally no one like you. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that so cool? And so just to really, okay, let's breathe. Just to really realize that, okay? And who are really good at that? Again, comedians. You might remember them from my last video. I love comedians. When comedians go on stage, usually the first thing they mention is about their quirks, is about the things that not necessarily they've been educated for. They're not like, hey, I'm a comedian. No, they're like, hey, I'm a single woman. Hey, I'm Black. Hey, I have a weird voice. They just point that out right away, and that's what they build on. That's what they get famous for, in a way. And so I'm not necessarily asking, also depending on your type of business, to share things you're not comfortable with sharing or things that are really not related. It's more just for yourself, first of all, as a background to really get in touch with. And if you like, you can start adding, a little bit of your personality and your uniqueness in your things. And so the good news is that you don't have to change anything about yourself. You don't have to become like your competition at all. Rather not. Don't look at what everyone is doing and do something else, right? And so the last tip that I have for you is actually a bit of a challenge. And it is for those people who think that, everything has already been said, and so there's envy because now I can't say it anymore, is to is to share something. It could be on social media, it could be just, yeah, social media would be a good place to start, I think, to share something that has been covered already. If it's on your blog or maybe in a video, anything like that, but just you're going to share it. So you could even, and I want to challenge you actually to talk about jealousy. You watch this video, now you know something about it, the things that you liked about it, the things that resonated with you, and maybe you have your own tips that you can add, but you don't even have to. You can just talk about what you learned from me, and it's going to be different. I'm 100% sure it's going to be completely different, video or blog or whatever. And so I want to challenge you to do that. And please let me know in the comments. You'll even get a bit more audience for it if you like. I would really love to see what you come up with and how it's different, how it's going to be so much more like you. So just to summarize this point is to move past comparing yourself and to go with your uniqueness on stage. And it doesn't have to be a real stage, right? It can be metaphorical stage. So step number 5, and now we're going to go to, you're an expert now, you're a pro now in dealing with jealousy. And we're going to go into preventing having this intense jealousy from now on. And so the way to do this, the way to move away actually from this, fear that you're not going to have what you want, is to look at what you have already. And so this is about gratitude. So there were quite some videos out there that said, if you feel jealous, go to gratitude. And I wouldn't want to recommend that actually, because it's going to look like, oh, I really want to have a relationship. Now I'm just going to go be grateful that I have friends. It doesn't really work like that, right? It's just gonna make you feel the contrast. It's just gonna rub in almost like the pain of, yeah, but it's not the same, right? And so I would recommend to first work through the raw emotions, right? To first go through the jealousy. And then if you feel a little bit better, you might be ready for gratitude, or maybe you feel entirely better. And you're just going to do the maintenance with gratitude. And so it doesn't matter how you do gratitude, if you want to write it down, if you want to spend a lot of time, if you want to spend a little bit of time, as long as it becomes a habit. It's something that you want to do every day. And so I have actually a really easy video to follow. It's 15-minute meditation and gratitude in one. So you got both of them covered in 15 minutes. And it's really nice because you can listen to it before you go to sleep. So you can just lie down, close your eyes. You don't have to write down anything. You can just follow the video, and then you got your gratitude practice. So I'll link to it up here so you can have a look at that. And so if you do that regularly, then you're going to be more in touch, with this joy of what you have. And you're going to have less of this, this wound of the fear of not getting what you want will heal more and more, will become smaller and smaller. Now we're at the end of this journey through jealousy together. I really hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. And I'd like to ask you to tell me in the comments which of the tips I gave were the most helpful. Maybe you have some questions or comments about them. Maybe you want to share your story about jealousy if you dare. I would love to read something about it. And let me know as well if you want to hear more about MVC or about law of attraction. Let me know what topics you would like me to cover so I can really make sure I make something that you love. And please give this video a like if you liked it, so we can really make sure that more people see this. You can share it as well if you know someone in particular, a friend or partner or anyone who might benefit from this. So give this video a thumbs up, Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos of mine. And I'm always online the first 2 hours after I publish something. So if you hit the notification bell, then you can be sure to have a chat with me live, which I would really like. So see you next time. Ciao.